Let's talk about anode replacement. On a specific brand of water heater, this is my 50-gallon tall A.O. Smith water heater, Signature Series. If you have an A.O. Smith and you want to change the anode rod, which you should be doing every 3 to 5 years, many people turns out don't know, but there is an anode rod that needs to replace, and there's a cap that says anode. That should make it easy. Well, let's get to it. First, I'm turning off the power, very important, as is turning off the water. Don't want any pressure as I'm fighting removing the anode rod, and I'm turning off the water not to just have it off, but also because I want to drain it. Next, I go upstairs, I turn a faucet all the way to hot, all the way open until it stops flowing, and then I leave it open. This is my vent. I'm venting, and I said draining because I do want to get some water out of the tank before I loosen the anode rod. To drain, I'm going to use a section of a water hose threaded onto the drain valve of the water heater. I'm going to put the other end of that hose into a 5-gallon bucket. Then I'm going to use a flat blade screwdriver to open that drain valve. Now my drain valve is plastic. You might have a fancier water heater that's a brass one, but I bought a value model, so I get cheap plastic, but it does work. I'm going to drain about 4 gallons out of the water heater into my Craftsman bucket, and you might ask, what Craftsman bucket is that? Well, this is the old Sears Craftsman. A few minutes later, about 4 gallons drained out. This should give me good access to remove the anode rod without any back-pressured water flowing up. Then I work my way up top for that easy access to the anode rod. Just remove this cover and the anode rod should be right under there, right? That is the case on some brands. A.O. Smith, they go for peak insulation value. That means they cover the anode rod with foam. So to get to the rod, I have to cut some of that away. The internet said it's just slightly under the top of that foam, so I used a toothpick. I wanted to prod around and see how deep that anode rod is in there. To my surprise, I was able to poke this toothpick all the way down, and I never touched anything. Alternate plan of attack. I do have this feeler gauge. It's a little longer, and I poked it down the middle. I still couldn't reach anything, so I decided I would cut away the insulation like a butter knife with this feeler gauge just going around the edge. In the hopes that I'm not working in vain. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I trust that there's an anode rod down there. I'm not gonna lie though, I went into this with 100% confidence. After about 2 or 3 minutes of digging around, I was at probably 80%. Eventually, I gave up on any plan of one solid chunk of foam and just started digging it away. Finally going at it with a screwdriver, and there was a lot of foam to dig out of here. You can see I still haven't reached the anode rod, but with some select shop vacuuming, I was able to clean all that out. And yes, there is an anode rod down there, way deeper than I was expecting for an item that's supposed to be regularly replaced. This is my first anode rod removal, and based on what I've seen online, an impact driver is the way to go for breaking these things loose. I'm using my Craftsman brushless with 270 foot-pounds of torque, and for the socket, I went with the Craftsman 1 1/16 inch. Both of these items came from Lowe's. The thing is, this rod's so deeply buried, even with the deep well socket, I couldn't reach it. I ended up having to add a short extension to my setup just to get there. This trio made easy work of what was certainly on there tight. I did try it with a 2-foot breaker bar, and I ended up moving the water heater. A water heater that still has about 46 gallons of water in it. That's over 360 pounds. With the impact driver, it was an easy trigger squeeze. In my case, I also had a little luck on my side. I was already thinking, how am I going to fish this rod out once I removed the socket, but the rod came up with the socket. Then I got double lucky. I have limited height room over this tall tank, as most people do, but it turns out this factory rod not as long as I was expecting. I was able to pull it almost all the way up, and then just an ever so slight tilt at the end, it came right out. Another surprise, the condition. This is after 5 years. I figured it would be mostly eroded. I wouldn't have been surprised if it was down to bare wire in sections, but this is mostly the diameter of the replacement rod. It is, however, completely coated in calcium, and from what I've read, that's a significant reduction in its sacrificial capabilities. So not eroded and not as long as I was expecting. I mean, look at this. This is how far it went down into the tank. There's a lot of room to spare. Factory thread sealant looks to be just standard pipe dope. Here's a side-by-side with the factory rod and the new replacement over a foot longer. Not a problem since there's so much extra room. The tank ends below the drain valve. So this longer rod not only fits, but it's possibly going to give this tank even more protection. Now you may be asking yourself, wait a minute, he said longer rod, but he also said limited headroom. Well, I purchased a segmented rod. And locally, there are 2 types of segmented rod that I can purchase. Lowe's sells a $23 anode rod that is what they call a nunchuck style. It definitely has a lower profile for installation, but I didn't like the idea that these free swinging links, I mean, look at the picture there. I could only imagine that bottom section swinging around and touching the tank as I was tightening it in. So I spent $12 more at Home Depot to get this 42-inch segmented rod that has stiff segments. They're still flexible, but it's not free swinging. I also like the idea that this has more sacrificial rod material. Installation super easy, some Teflon tape installed in a clockwise direction. That'll keep it from unfurling as I'm tightening it down. You can see here I started bending on these sections to give me access to work this down, and my plan was to bend one, work it down, straighten up to the next one, and bend the last one. And if I would have put the camera in a better space, you may have been able to see all of it, but I think you can kind of get the idea here. Not difficult at all, and the rod just dropped in place for that final plunge down into the cavity. Yeah, I thought about that for a second, but then decided to just let it go. I removed it with the impact driver, but I am not installing it with the impact driver. I used a ratchet, the same socket, the same extension. I snugged it down, and then I used a torque wrench to finish it off. And I had to look up and kind of guess at torque specifications. I went with 40 foot-pounds, and that seems to have done the job. I'm currently working on a custom piece of fitted foam to fill the void. In the meantime, I decided to do what a high-dollar plumber would do, and just cover it with the cap. And there you have it. The foam on an A.O. Smith water heater goes deeper than I expected, but the anode rod is there. Mine's good for another 3 to 5 years before I have to do this again. But let me ask you, do you replace the anode in your water heater? When was the last time you did it? Did you even know that that is required maintenance? And what about having to work through all that foam? Is that easy access to you? It wasn't what I envisioned, but let me hear your thoughts. Comment below, and thanks for watching.